Snow hammered against the bakery window as the door swung open, letting in a gust of freezing air and a woman wrapped in a coat that had long stopped keeping out the cold. Claire stood quietly at the counter, holding 4 wrinkled dollars, asking for a stale cake the clerk mocked as trash. Around her, the warm smell of cinnamon didn't soften the sting of humiliation tightening her throat. What no one in that room expected was the man who stepped inside next, a stranger with a steady gaze, a past he rarely spoke about, and the kind of presence that shifted the air without raising his voice. In a city where people passed each other without looking up, his attention landed on her like something impossible. And in that moment, a simple question, "Is everything all right?" began unraveling a story that would lead to second chances, redemption, and a night that changed all 3 lives forever. Before we begin this emotional story, tell us in the comments from which city you are watching, and don't forget to leave your like to keep following us. The cold had settled over New York like a punishment, the kind that crawled beneath coats and clung to bones. Inside the small bakery on West 46th Street, warmth curled in the air, brown sugar, butter, cinnamon, but none of it reached the woman standing hesitantly by the counter. Claire kept her hands inside the sleeves of her oversized, patchy coat, fingers stiff from the wind that had chased her inside. The clerk, Evan, a young man with a bored face and a name tag hanging crooked, glanced at her as if she were tracking mud across the floor. She eyed a stale cake in the display case, its frosting cracked, its sponge sunken. It looked tired, forgotten, much like she felt. She leaned closer, her voice soft, barely above the hum of the fridge beneath the counter. "Excuse me, how much for that one?" Evan didn't bother hiding the smirk. "That? It's basically trash. You probably can't afford even the trash." He tapped the glass with an impatient fingernail. "We toss it out in an hour. You can wait outside with the bags if you want." A couple sitting near the window looked up, exchanging awkward glances. Claire's neck warmed, a slow flush rising despite the cold. She tried again. "I have $4. It's for my daughter. Her birthday is today." She said it without meeting his eyes, afraid her voice might betray too much. How long she had saved, how many nights she had skipped meals, how she had rehearsed this moment at the bus stop in New York before finding the courage to step inside. Evan laughed under his breath. $4 won't get you a candle, lady." Claire's fingers pressed tighter around the folded bills in her pocket. She wasn't angry, just tired. Tired in a way that made her shoulders slope and her breath shallow. She thought of Lily waiting at the shelter, likely counting the minutes, imagining a small celebration. A heartwarming story was all Claire wanted for the night. Evan reached for the cake with exaggerated disdain. "Like I said, it's garbage. I'll bag it when I'm done. You can dig for it later if you—" The bell above the door chimed. A man stepped inside, shaking snow from the shoulders of his dark coat. He looked around briefly, then paused as his eyes landed on Claire and the clerk's mocking grin. Something shifted in his expression, a stillness, a recognition of a kind of hidden pain he had once carried too. He stepped forward, and Claire felt the room tighten, as if what happened next held the weight to change everything she thought she knew about kindness. The man moved with a quiet confidence, not rushed, not theatrical. He simply stepped into the space between Claire and the counter, his presence steady like someone used to walking into rooms where decisions were made. Snow melted slowly on the shoulders of his coat, dripping onto the bakery floor. Evan straightened a little, unsure why. Michael Hayes rarely called attention, despite being one of the most discreet millionaire CEOs in Manhattan. Tonight, though, he felt something tug at him the moment he saw the woman's trembling hands and the stale cake between them. It wasn't pity. It was memory, sharp, unwelcome, familiar. He glanced at Claire, his voice calm. "Is everything all right here?" Claire lowered her gaze quickly. "I was just trying to buy the cake. It's okay." But it wasn't okay, and the way she said it made Michael's jaw tighten. Evan forced a laugh. "She's trying to buy a ruined cake with $4. I told her she should wait outside for trash hour." He shrugged, pretending not to notice the tension settling around them. "It's policy." Michael studied him for a moment too long, and Evan's smirk wavered. Then Michael looked at the cake, collapsed frosting, a candle missing from the decoration. He turned back to Claire. "Is it your daughter's birthday?" Claire nodded once. The movement was small, fragile. She's turning 7. She loves strawberry frosting. This was the closest thing to it. Michael's chest expanded with a slow breath. He knew what it felt like to want to give something, anything, to someone you loved, even when life had stripped you of almost everything. Her simple hope pressed against something old inside him. He turned to Evan. "I'll buy this cake." Evan perked up. "First, you'll want that thing." "No." Michael's voice stayed level. "I want her to have it." Claire froze. Her fingers curled inward, as if unsure whether to reach out or retreat. "Sir, you don't have to." "I know I don't." He offered her a gentle nod, the kind that didn't ask for gratitude, only dignity. "But I want to." Evan rolled his eyes. "Fine, $5. Michael blinked slowly. "For a cake you were about to throw out." "Store rules," Evan said, though they both knew he was inventing it. Michael took out his wallet and placed a $100 bill on the counter. "Then consider the rules covered." His tone remained soft, but the message underneath it landed heavy. Evan's mouth fell open. Claire tried to find words, but all that came out was a quiet breath, one she had been holding far too long. Michael handed her the small box gently. As she touched it, something warm flickered in her eyes, a spark against the cold weight of the day. But before she could thank him, Michael asked, "Where is your daughter waiting?" The question drifted between them, carrying a promise neither of them fully understood yet. Claire hesitated before answering him, the small cake box trembling slightly in her hands. Around them, the bakery hummed back to its ordinary rhythm, machines whirring, cups clinking, yet something about the air felt charged, as if the moment had cracked open a quiet doorway neither of them expected. "She's at the community center on 12th, Claire finally said. "They let us stay there during the cold nights." Her voice thinned near the end, almost fading beneath the background noise. She wasn't ashamed, just exhausted from years of absorbing judgment with bowed shoulders. Michael nodded, as though the answer carried weight he understood intimately. "It's a long walk in this weather." He glanced at the window where flakes drifted past like slow ash. "Do you have gloves?" Claire shook her head. Her hands, red and raw, peeked from the sleeves as she adjusted the cake again. Michael's eyes lingered on the cracked skin at her knuckles. They told a story more truthful than words. A hidden pain. A life lived in survival mode. Evan, trying to salvage his pride, muttered from behind the counter, "She can handle it. People like her always do." Michael turned just enough to look at him. No anger, no raised voice, just a steady disapproval that made Evan swallow hard. Then he looked back at Claire. "Do you mind if I walk you there?" Claire blinked, startled. "Why would you do that?" "Because birthdays should feel safe," he said simply. Something in his tone, honest, unpolished, made her chest tighten. People didn't usually offer her anything without expecting something back. A small act of kindness felt dangerous, almost unreal. "I don't want to take your time," she whispered. "You're not," he replied, "and I need fresh air anyway." She studied him slowly. His suit was expensive, tailored. His watch alone probably cost more than everything she owned. A wealthy man in a warm bakery offering to walk through the cold for a homeless mother? It felt like a scene from a life that wasn't hers. But Lily was waiting. "All right," Claire said quietly. "If you're sure." Michael nodded once. "Let me help with your coat." He lifted it gently, careful not to rush her, and she slipped her arms into the sleeves. His kindness didn't feel performative. It felt human. As they stepped outside into the biting wind, Claire wondered who this man truly was, and why a stranger's concern warmed her more than the heated bakery ever could. A block away, the city lights flickered, as if guiding them toward something unexpected waiting in the night. The wind hit them sharply as soon as they stepped onto the sidewalk, pushing against their bodies like a living thing. Claire lowered her face into her scarf, the fabric thin and frayed, while Michael kept a steady pace beside her. Snowflakes clung to her eyelashes. The city glowed in patches, streetlights buzzing, taxis slicing through the slush, steam rising from vents like tired sighs. For a moment neither spoke. Claire focused on the cake box, on keeping it steady against the gusts. Michael watched the way she shielded it with her arms, as if it were something fragile and sacred. It stirred an ache he hadn't expected. "Is it just you and your daughter?" he asked gently. Claire nodded, eyes on the pavement. For now. Michael didn't push. He recognized that tone, the one that carried a secret from the past, something bruised and private. He used to speak the same way years ago when grief had hollowed him out and left him wandering through late nights with too much silence in his chest. They paused at a crosswalk. A bus rumbled by, sending a spray of dirty snow onto the curb. Claire stepped back just in time. Michael instinctively reached out, his hand hovering near her arm without touching. She noticed, and for a split second, she didn't recoil. "You mentioned her name is Lily," he said. A small smile softened her face. "She's the brightest part of my day, even when everything else feels like—" She stopped herself, biting down on the rest. She didn't want to spill her struggles onto his shoes. Michael nodded again as if he understood the unfinished sentence perfectly. "Kids have a way of keeping us moving." "You have children?" she asked. He hesitated. The question pressed on something in him, and the answer came out quieter than before. "I did." Claire's steps slowed just a little. It wasn't curiosity that filled her eyes. It was empathy. A recognition of deep trauma hiding behind casual speech. She didn't ask for details. She simply walked beside him with a silence that didn't feel empty. They approached the block where the community center stood, an old brick building with flickering lights and a metal door that always stuck in the cold. Claire's shoulders tightened with a familiar mix of relief and shame. Michael noticed. "You don't have to feel small walking in there." Her breath caught. "You say that like it's easy." Before he could answer, the metal door creaked open from inside and a tiny face peeked out. Wide eyes, messy curls, expecting only her mother. The moment hung in the air, ready to shift everything again. Lily burst fully into view the moment she recognized the silhouette in the snow. "Mum!" Her small boots slapped against the floor as she stumbled out, curls bouncing, cheeks flushed from the heated air inside. Claire bent down quickly, steadying the cake box against her chest so she could wrap one arm around her daughter. "I missed you," Lily whispered into her coat. Claire breathed her in. Warmth, shelter soap, something like vanilla. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." Michael stood a few steps back, letting the moment unfold untouched. Something in Lily's voice cracked open a memory he had locked away for years, a voice he used to hear calling him from across living rooms, playgrounds, hospital rooms. His hands tightened inside his gloves. Lily noticed him next. She peeked around her mother's side, eyes curious but unafraid. "Who's that?" Claire hesitated only long enough to find the simplest truth. "A friend who helped us today." Michael smiled softly. "Happy birthday, Lily." Her eyebrows lifted. "You know it's my birthday." "He does," Claire said, adjusting the cake box and brushing melting snow from the top. "He helped me bring you something special." Lily gasped when she saw the box. "A cake for me." She placed both hands over her mouth as if the idea was too grand to believe. The metal door groaned again, swinging wider as an older volunteer popped his head out. "Claire? Everything okay?" His eyes moved from the little girl to the stranger standing beside them. "Yes," Claire said quickly. "We're fine." But Lily tugged on her sleeve. "Mom, we have to go in. Miss Anna said we could use the little room with the string lights." Claire exchanged a brief, uncertain glance with Michael. She didn't want to appear as though she relied on him, but Lily was already pulling her toward the door, cake bouncing dangerously in her hands. Michael stepped forward. "Here, let me hold it while you get settled." Claire opened her mouth to decline, but the wind cut sharply between them, and Lily was already half inside. She sighed, then nodded. Just for a moment, the warmth of the community center wrapped around them as they entered. Faint soup smell, worn couches, tired smiles. Claire led him down a narrow hallway to a dim little room decorated with holiday lights that blinked unevenly. Lily turned to Michael with childlike sincerity. "Will you stay for 1 minute, just to see the candles?" Her question hung in the flickering light, and Claire's eyes widened, not with embarrassment, but with something far more complicated. A fragile hope that someone might say yes. Michael hadn't expected the invitation. For a moment he simply stood there in the doorway, watching the string lights flicker above Lily's head like tiny, stubborn stars. The room was small, barely more than a storage space repurposed for warmth, but Lily moved inside it with the certainty of someone who could turn any corner of the world into a celebration. "If it's all right with your mom," Michael said gently. Claire tensed, the cake now between her and this man who had walked unexpectedly into the most vulnerable part of her life. She wasn't used to anyone staying. People gave $1, a smile, a disposable kindness, then disappeared. Staying meant seeing too much. Staying meant noticing the cracks. But Lily's eyes glowed with anticipation, and Claire felt her resistance soften. "Only a minute," she murmured. Michael stepped in quietly, placing the cake on a small plastic table. The room hummed with muffled noise from the hall, children laughing, footsteps, the distant clang of pots from the kitchen. Claire removed her gloves slowly, fingers trembling as she unfastened the lid of the cake box. The frosting was smudged from the cold. The candles were mismatched, scavenged from the shelter's supply. Yet Lily clasped her hands together as though she were staring at a grand birthday tower in a rich family's dining room. "It's beautiful," the girl whispered. Michael swallowed. Beauty, he realized, had very little to do with perfection. Lily rushed to the drawer of craft supplies and returned with a handful of paper scraps. She set them next to Michael. "These used to be birthday cards from last year. Miss Anna said we can reuse them." He looked up at Claire, whose cheeks flushed with quiet embarrassment. "She likes making things herself," she said, her voice taut with apology she shouldn't have owed. "I think that's wonderful," Michael said. Lily grinned and began cutting shapes with dull scissors. Claire lit the candles, 7 weak flames wobbling in the draft from the hallway. For a second, the entire world seemed to hold its breath. "Make a wish," Claire whispered. Lily closed her eyes and took a deep inhale, her chest rising with a seriousness far too big for her small frame. Michael watched her and felt something shift deep inside him. A memory, a sting, a longing. When Lily opened her eyes and blew out the candles, Claire brushed a curl behind her ear. "What did you wish for?" Lily leaned close and whispered, "I wished for us not to be alone anymore." The words struck the room like a quiet earthquake. Michael's breath stilled, and Claire's fingers froze on the edge of the cake box. Spring arrived quietly in New York, melting the icy sidewalks that had once carried Claire and Lily from shelter to shelter. Months had passed since the night in the bakery, and the small apartment Michael arranged for them had become a home. Modest, warm, filled with drawings taped to the fridge and laughter drifting through the windows. A framed photo sat on the table, Lily holding her birthday cake, its crooked candles glowing like little promises. Claire kept it there as a reminder of the moment everything shifted. Michael visited often, never imposing, always bringing books for Lily or groceries for the week. What began as a single act of kindness slowly rebuilt something in him too, a sense of purpose he thought he had buried with his grief. One afternoon, as Lily ran ahead toward the community garden they now volunteered in, Claire looked at Michael with quiet gratitude. "You didn't just help us," she said. "You gave us back our dignity." Michael smiled, touched by the truth in her words. "You did that yourselves," he replied. In the garden's soft sunlight, surrounded by new leaves and new beginnings, their lives intertwined in a way none of them could have imagined on that cold winter night. It wasn't charity. It wasn't obligation. It was family, one built not by blood, but by compassion, forgiveness, and the invisible strength of second chances. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heart-touching story. Tell us in the comments which moment touched you the most. Subscribe and turn on the bell to receive more stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like if you believe in the invisible strength of kindness, dignity, and family. And thank you for being part of this community that believes in stories with soul.